Hello, Kai here from Family Wheels with another car review for your growing family. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on the bottom right down here for new reviews every week. But here is a long-serving, loyal family friend, the 2020 Toyota Rav4 Hybrid. Selling like hotcakes, by the way. Sold over 100,000 of the hybrids in North America in 2019 alone. There's some stiff competition on the near horizon. We're going to find out what they are, but also help you decide if the 2020 Toyota Rav4 Hybrid is the right car for you and your family on Family Wheels. Sales of the Rav4 has been steadily growing since it was introduced in the early 90s, to the point where in North America in 2019 they sold over 500,000 of them, and the hybrid made up around 20% of those sales. So they have been selling really well. Not hurt by the fact I feel like this is the best looking Rav4 ever, this 5th generation. Very sporty, nice lines, a really nice long hood with that drop off over the nose. And there is some competition coming out really soon, not only from others, but there is a plug-in hybrid for the Rav4 coming up in 2021. The Ford Escape hybrid has made a return. There's also a plug-in for the Escape coming. You've got the long-standing Mitsubishi Outlander, which is still on sale. So it's a very hotly contested segment of the market that Toyota is doing very well in. Not a lot of changes coming up for 2020. It was newly resigned for 2019. There are a couple of things though. There is a new trim level. It's the TRD off-road trim level, which sits above trail, and it's priced just above limited, but of course it probably doesn't have the nicer interior, but it has a bunch of the off-road accessories to go with it. Toyota has added Android Auto to go along with Apple CarPlay, which is excellent, and they've added some Toyota connected services to the infotainment system. And this particular one we're in at the moment, this is the XSE with the technology package. But in terms of that powertrain, why has this been so popular with people? So you've got two things. You've got the gas engine. It's still the 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine up front, but then you've got two electric motors as well. You've got one that sits sort of just under here. You've also got another one in the back. Now the car will generally take off using the electric power, and then the engine will kick in a little bit after that, and then you get to a certain amount and it's pretty much all your engine taking care of it. And that provides sensational fuel economy. This will use just 6 litres per 100 kilometres, which gets you about 47 miles per gallon. And it's attached to the electronically controlled CVT. Bit of a different beast to the traditional CVT. I'm going to compare it to a couple other cars that we've driven just recently. You've got the Mitsubishi Outlander, which is a plug-in obviously, that we drove, that gets you about 35 kilometres just on electric power. This will not get you very far at all on electric power alone. And in fact, if you put your foot to the floor, the EV mode, which you've got a button down here, completely cuts out. And then you've got the Honda CRV. Now we drove the gas engine CRV, and that's still got great fuel economy at just 8 litres per 100 kilometres. But there's kind of two sides. I didn't want to love the CRV, but I did, and I wanted to love this in terms of the inside, and it wasn't so great. One of the best advantages of the CRV is just how amazingly designed it is on the inside. So practical and so functional. I felt like that was a place inside this Rav4 that it really lacked. I'm going to do a couple of comparisons for you. One thing would be storage on the inside. The CRV, everything was laid out where it needed to be. There were some big storage bins in the door trims and then the pockets in the back. This one in particular, it feels a lot tighter than the CRV, not as much head space, not as much space up front. It doesn't lack in trunk space. This still has 1,059 litres of trunk space, which is amazing for families, and passed our standardized test of the stroller, grocery bags, soccer ball, camera gear, no problems whatsoever. The Outlander had more space than both of them, but I'd put the interior of that in third place versus the CRV and the Toyota Rav4. Your legs are a little bit more elevated on the Rav4 as well, your seating position, whereas the CRV, your legs were down a little bit and you felt a little bit more elevated, so you had better sight lines when you were driving. A couple of things inside the Rav4, like when you've got the rear-facing kids seat, it passed our standardized test as well. The front passenger still has enough room, or plenty, I'd say plenty of room. It does have enough space, and this is the, on purpose, we use the world's chunkiest kids seat, the Collect Flow. But have a look at those door panels on the back. There's no room apart from a water bottle, and then the rest of it is kind of obsolete. And also the pockets on the back of the front seats, there isn't even a storage pocket at the back of the driver's seat, which is really weird. This is the XSE with the technology package. This is the second highest trim in the hybrid, and it doesn't have simple things like that. When you got a family, you want wet wipes, tissues, toys, snacks, everything like that you need to be storing. So this console is really big. That's actually fine. The front, you have a little bit more. The glove box is okay, but a couple of spots where you thought this might have delivered, being very much a family car, but the CRV was well above that. The anchor point for the kids seats was pretty easy to find though. That part of it's all good. And the rear seats do recline a little bit. They don't slide back and forth, but they do recline a little bit. Another thing that was different to the CRV is the angle of the rear door openings. So that CRV has near 90 degrees. It has 85-degree openings of its doors. And that was very noticeable when you opened up the RAV4. I felt like I wanted those back doors to open up even more. On the other hand, I would prefer this drivetrain and the transmission to that CRV. The CRV was a traditional CVT, which I don't love. And also that 1.5 litre turbo has had some reliability issues with oil dilution and some oil getting into the gas. Not the case with the Toyota RAV4. This one's been pretty solid. This one, the XSE with the technology package, is around $42,000 Canadian. I'll put all the prices for US and for Canada in the description. All three drive pretty much the same. They're all quite light on the road. The power steering is very light on all three. They don't give you a lot of feedback from the road. So in that sense, they all feel pretty similar. But what I love about the RAV4 is the range. So you'll get 917 kilometer range out of this car, which is 536 miles. Now, if you compare that to that Outlander, the Outlander is about 500 kilometers, or about 310 miles. It's like half the distance in a tank of gas. And the reason for that is because they had to put the big battery in the trunk, in the floor for their Outlander. So there's a much smaller gas tank, whereas this one still has the 55-litre gas tank. So you're not sacrificing any of the gas and you're not sacrificing any trunk space either. Okay, let's take it for a drive and we'll have a look at the different drive modes down here and just have a quick brush through on the interior and see what works and what doesn't. I was about to turn the car on, but it's already on. I love the fact that if you've got enough battery, I'm sitting here because it's cold outside. I've got the heating on and everything, and the engine hasn't turned on for a good 10-15 minutes. I love that. Okay, so it is all-wheel drive, but the all-wheel drive, the back wheels are purely on electric. So the front wheels are done by the gas engine and a little bit from the other battery engine, the little motor which is under here, and then the back wheels are done by another one. So when you take off, it will be mostly under battery power, which helps you with that fuel efficiency because it's the takeoff that soaks up all the gas. So you've got more of a traditional gear shift down here. You do have sport shift as well. And then on the buttons here, nicely positioned, you've got your different driving modes. You do have EV mode. You've also got, you can push for normal, this button. You can put it back to eco, or you can put it to sport, which does give it a bit more pep. It's going to use a bit more battery power from standstill, and it's going to tell the engine to jump into gear a little bit more, but it's certainly not a sports SUV at all. This is not a car that's going to set your world on fire in terms of performance, but neither are its closest competitors. Some of those plugins though, like the RAV4 which is coming, and also the Ford Escape, they are quoting much more net horsepower. This one apparently has a net horsepower of around about 219 horsepower, which is pretty good. It's not too bad for a car this size and for what its purpose is, which is a family car. You've also got trail down here. If you're in the rough stuff a little bit more, you can use that. But in terms of your driving modes, that's pretty much it. Sometimes the gear shift is a little bit clunky when you're going up and down. It's got quite a big range on it. Your dash is rather uninspiring as well, and this is actually the nicer one. It gives you enough information that you need, but it's certainly nothing special. And it's just some of those finishings, you know, I get to drive a lot of cars, so I'm probably spoiled and I'm probably a little bit more critical, but it's just the finishings, like these big open kind of panels here are really dull and boring. And while it's designed to be a bit more rugged and robust and withhold the demands of a family of kids kicking everything every 2 seconds, it does do that, but you know, it's the price point, I guess, you're looking at. There's not those nicer fixtures and finishings that you might want. If you do get the Limited though, the Limited in Toyota trim is actually quite nice, so you might want to look at that. Let's have a listen to the engine and the takeoff here, and also this electronically controlled, continuously variable transmission. So I'm just going to keep this in comfort. I'm just in drive. The engine's switched off at the moment, and I'll just floor it. A bit of wheel spin, holy cow. So that engine kicked in straight away. That's way better than the Mitsubishi Outlander. That thing was really slow. Okay, this time I'm gonna see if it will go just in EV mode. All right, I'll just take off really slow and see how long it takes for the engine to come in. That's just electric still. There we go, just nearly 40k an hour the engine came in. So you're going to save so much gas. The RAV4 also has a top safety pick plus from the IIHS. That's with specific headlamps. That would usually be the LED headlamps. That's a pretty standard practice. And with the Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, if your car has that, which they pretty much all do, that is actually rated superior as well. So we should talk about the trim level. So this is the XSE with the technology package of the hybrids. So with that technology package, you get wireless charging down here. It doesn't have wireless connectivity to the Apple CarPlay and now Android Auto, which is just introduced. This car also has the digital rear vision mirror, which I love. It's been wet some days this week, and this car actually has a bunch of blind spots. It can be tough in the wet, but that digital camera is well protected. It doesn't get too wet. In driving rain, that was still really nice and crisp up here. You've also got navigation on the infotainment system, which is has very poor graphics, to be honest. I wouldn't even bother with it. You've got intelligent clearance sonar, which is helpful for when you're reversing. You've got premium sound. It's actually the, what is it, the JBL? Yeah, good sound system, I like it. Climate control is good. These kind of big knobs, it's all easy to use. What I don't like is that it will reset every time you turn the car off, I think. So if you've got the front demister on, when you get in, if you've been out for 2 seconds, you'll jump back in and then you realize it's not working. You got to turn it on again every single time. Some of the heated seat buttons and everything are a bit clunky and clicky, whereas they could just be easy press button. The infotainment system, so this is the bigger, there's two size screens depending on what trim level you get. This is about an 8-inch screen. I don't like the little buttons on the side. They're really fiddly, they're tiny, but it does everything that you need it to. It's got Sirius live radio that you can record and even rewind. Your Bluetooth connectivity is really quick, and then you can even see where the energy flow is while you're driving along, which you get on your dash as well. It's actually useful. You can see where the energy is coming from. If you're using just battery or your engine as well, or both at the same time, it gives you live readings of that. So that is the 2020 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Hopefully you found this review useful. If you have, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you can catch new reviews every single week. Until next time, from Family Wheels, I'm Kai.